Welcome back to the final part of our series on outcomes, value and ROI.
In this final video, we'll cover the last level of the value hierarchy, direct financial ROI, and summarise the material we've covered in this series.
So, can we go one step further and link this to ROI? ROI is obviously the critical measure of success for any spend on any piece of software or technology. But it's not always possible to tie even the value that you're delivering directly to ROI. There are reasons for this, of course. It's very rare that the only change a business makes is to invest in a new solution. They may also change their marketing approach. They may hire new salespeople. There may be a change in the macroeconomic climate. Let's say, for example, the introduction of a CRM was expected to drive up the overall sales number for the organization. If that happens, and they've also changed the marketing, and they've also changed some of the salespeople, and the macroeconomic climate has got more favorable, well, how much of the improvement is due to the CRM versus those other conditions? It's extremely hard to say. However, what can't be taken away from you as a vendor, and what you absolutely can demonstrate, is those aspects of value, as we've just discussed, opportunity size, for example, opportunity close times, where you can directly attribute that to some aspect or use of the system. So what can you do to demonstrate ROI? Well, you're going to have to do this in partnership with your customer. It's unlikely you will have to hand all the data you need to make the case that you've delivered an ROI. That means very early on in the conversation, you want to establish with your customer that you want to have that conversation. You want to use something like the value hierarchy to demonstrate to them how you're going to deliver it. That makes the case that if ROI is going to be measured, it can be related directly to other aspects of the system, for example, your value outcomes, and therefore gives you a great reason to ask for access to the data that you can use in partnership to prove that those value outcomes are delivering an ROI. So taking our CRM example, we might agree, for example, that shorter close times is something we'd expect to lead to slightly improved employee satisfaction. And we might agree that improved average opportunity deal size should lead to an overall increase in sales numbers. And then, given the caveats about perhaps other things have also changed, you and your customer can work in partnership to see, do we get the value outcomes we expect? Are we seeing that result in some of the ROI outcomes that we would also expect? So what might this conversation look like top to bottom? Well, first you might want to establish the ROI you're trying to deliver. In the case of the CRM example, that might be an increase in new business sales. Then you want to identify the specific value outcomes that you know your solution can deliver, and that hopefully you can also measure, that if they improve, should deliver that ROI outcome. In this case, we might say, for example, that improved visibility to the sales pipeline, increased average deal size, and shorter sales cycles are all things that we would expect to lead to increased new business sales revenues. And then those value outcomes will depend on the right engagement. So let's take the first of those. Let's look at improved visibility to the sales pipeline. And as you can see, in this case, we've got 4 things that we think contribute to that value outcome. What's notable here is that the weekly forecasting call may be the critical step in ensuring that that value is delivered. And this is something that doesn't really happen on the CRM solution. You can't really tell if it's happening or if it's happening well. But your customer has to understand that this is a critical part of the process, has to understand what the best practices are, and make sure that they work with their sales leadership to embed these across the organization. And of course, none of this can happen without presence. Presence is really the foundation for all of this other activity. Now, this is obviously only one example, but whatever solution you provide, aspects of all 4 levels of the value hierarchy are going to be present. And as a CSM, you not only want to be explaining this journey to your customers, and this really is the customer's customer journey. Moving over time from presence to ROI is what they really care about. And then demonstrating how you as a CSM will guide your customer along that journey with appropriate best practices, an appropriate set of KPIs that will allow you to measure at each of the levels of the hierarchy whether or not the right things are being done. Then you become a CSM absolutely with a seat at the top table, a critical partner for that customer in the success of their deployment of your solution. If you've enjoyed this short series of videos and you'd like to read more of our content, please visit our blog at successmethods.uk. If you'd like more information about our training courses for customer success professionals, you can also get that at successmethods.uk. What you've seen in these last 3 videos is just a tiny portion of what we cover over the 2-day course, Customer Success Management, Outcomes to Frameworks. Thank you for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed these videos.